Hello and welcome to Own Your Peace. I am your host, Andy Thewison, and today we are going to talk about something that's deeply close to my heart, something that I hope brings you peace and really kind of opens your eyes to seeing something a little bit differently than you may have in the past. We've all wondered what happens after someone passes. When we lose someone, what happens? What's the process? We have so many questions about what's on the other side of this life. Today, I want to share with you some of the most beautiful and common ways that our loved ones communicate with us. I have some amazing stories to share from some of our community members of their personal stories of how their loved ones have connected with them. I want to have this space be a reminder that love never dies, that we are constantly surrounded by loving forces that are here to help guide us, to direct us, and really be there as, true guardian angels, your true guides here on this earth. And I think sometimes this is something that we negate or we poo poo as like, oh, that's not a real thing, or that was just coincidence. And I want to give you some really like solid understanding of how this can work, what it can look like from my own personal experiences, from those of community members, so that you can kind of like, oh, maybe I actually am receiving guidance from my loved ones. Maybe I am feeling them actually more than I ever thought I did. And that's the goal here, is to really kind of open up your mind, open up your heart to maybe seeing things a little bit differently than you might have before, and being a little bit more open to receive these messages from your loved ones that they are so desperately wanting for you to receive and for you to feel. So let's get started. I personally believe that spirits are surrounding us at all times. In the work that I do, in the readings that I do, I don't talk about this a lot when I'm advertising my services or when I talk about my coaching programs or when I talk about my one-on-one sessions. But a big process of what I do is to call in your team. So any person I have a one-on-one session for, I have a process where I set aside my ego and my personality. I open myself up as an open channel, calling in your angels, your guides, your cosmic family, your healed and healthy ancestors to sit with me during your session. I don't call myself a traditional medium because I'm not here to like directly send you messages from your people. Yes, they come through. Let's be honest about that. But it's not like I can be like, oh, that's grandpa on your side. I just hear their words. I hear their impressions. I see things in my mind's eye that they want you to understand. I'm getting information and channeling from your team. So I don't call myself a medium, but there is some mediumship in there. It's really just allowing myself to hold space for added awareness and added guidance from your team. And what's really cool about that is I have never had a session where I have felt nothing but love for the person I'm reading for. As soon as I set that space, I'm like now in a crowded room of, of energies. I don't actually see things, but I do feel them in the space. And they're so excited. They're so excited to be invited in to sit with you, to guide you, to show me what more I could say to help you on your path. And that is the coolest experience of my life. And the work that I do is adding that layer so that you see it in a new light and so that it lands and helps you on your path. So I hate to say I'm a medium, but yes, there is this level of addedness to the work that I do. So I do have this very deep understanding when it comes to how spirit speaks to us and how we can feel them in all that we do. So much so that sometimes if I don't close down the space, your family members will follow me around and I'll continue to have them whispering in my ear. So I have to be really good about, okay, I finished my session with a client. I need to close down the space so that I don't have any people following me around all day, continuing to try to talk to me, which can be an interesting thing when I'm driving and all of a sudden I have like a knowing about a person that I just read for. So I honor your space. I honor my space. I close it down so that I don't have any hanger on. continually wanting to be chatty with me as I move. And as we are in Halloween week, the veil is getting really thin. I don't know if you are already starting to feel that connection, like your dreams are becoming brighter. You're seeing things more clearly as we enter into this time frame of Scorpio season, of Halloween, of, the Day of the Dead. There's this season of connectivity that is really, really present right now. So I thought it'd be like a really good idea, again, to dive back into these and to kind of open your eyes to some of the different ways that you might actually be getting messages and you're not really realizing that you're getting messages. So that's kind of the vibe of today's podcast. I know I've got some skeptics, and if you have been skeptical, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Start every podcast with that. Like, your heart, your soul. And if it doesn't resonate, it doesn't resonate. Just leave it behind, but pick up what does and hold on to what does. There's so many different ways spirits are loved ones saying hello. And if I give a reason and you're like, it doesn't make sense to me, or that doesn't resonate, let it be. So I'm going to go over 9 ways that our spirit can communicate with you that you might not be aware of. And I'll try and give some examples from my own experience, kind of how things can resonate for you. One of the first ways that we will talk about today is nature. That can be through plants, synchronicities, and nature. So one of the really cool ways to connect with your loved ones is to have a meditation where you call in a grandmother or a father or somebody who you truly want to feel connected to. And then you ask them, what will your symbol be? And then you might have that as a hawk or that it is a deer. You're going to have some type of connectivity through a sign, and a lot of times it's in nature. So you might constantly see a hawk where you hadn't seen a hawk before. Or there's other ways, like you could see, a certain plant that means something special to you. So keep that in mind, that nature is a way for spirit to communicate with you. I have a really good friend, and her symbol for her loved one was a rainbow. So every time she was out in nature and saw a rainbow, she felt that connectivity to her loved one that had passed. So look for those things and have those conversations and meditation where you do create that symbolism with your loved ones. Another way that spirits can communicate with us is through music. Songs can hold messages and memories, and you're going to have a response. It's not just like music for music's sake, but you're going to have goosebumps, a warmth, tears, just this like kind of knowing within you that that was a message. It just lands and hits a little bit different. For example, my husband was helping plant trees at my sister's house. And there's this special song. If you listen to the episode from when I go over my father's death, there's a song, How Can I Say Goodbye? And that song, which is, not on a lot of like Spotify and Apple playlists. It's a beautiful song, but it's a sad song. So you don't really hear it in most playlists. It's not there. So they were planting this tree and that song came on. And it was like my dad was laying claim to that was his tree. That was his remembering spot where we now know that that's my dad's tree. Everyone kind of felt it that was there, that my dad had laid claim to this tree. And that song coming on the speakers at that moment where he had just finished planting it. And that tree just kind of has this beautiful vantage point of seeing all the kids playing. And it's a really beautiful spot. So we call that Glenn's tree now. But that's a kind of an example of how music can be a symbol or a signal from our loved ones. People can be a conduit for spirit for our loved ones. It can come in the messages that come through others, where you're talking to someone and all of a sudden they say a phrase or they say something that just means something really deeply to you, that they have no idea what they just said, but that that was a connection to your loved ones. So just be aware that just because someone says something and you feel that, trust it. Don't just think of it as nothing. Be like, oh my goodness, they said that and I felt connected to this person. And it doesn't make any sense. A lot of times, none of these will make sense. So trust that it is what it is. honor that it is what it is. Hold true to that and allow yourself to have a space for miracles, have space for magic in your life, and trust these things. Feathers are often discussed as angelic signs. So you might see them when you're walking or see them in unique places that you weren't really expecting. So having a unexpected feather is, I like to say, a wink from the spirit. So embrace it. And as a touch of magic in your life. Okay, electronics. This is kind of where we bridge the line of when we get into spooky. Because a lot of times when you hear light flickering and devices turning off, that we think haunted. But a lot of times that's just our loved ones trying to say hello and trying to speak. So my mom, very soon after my dad passed, came home from the LDS temple, and she swears that she didn't leave her radio on, but she came home and there was music playing on her radio when she came home, and it was something that my dad really loved. And she's like, I don't remember leaving it on, but it was on when she came home. We could say that that's spooky, that's scary, that's haunted, or we can be like, you know what? That's someone I love saying hello to me. So I understand where there might be some hesitancy, but really let go of fear and really lean into, does this feel more like love? Does this feel more like a playful wink from someone who truly loves me? Sit with that and see if you can feel the difference between the two. Another beautiful way that we see signs from spirits and confirmation is through numbers. And we all call them angel numbers. You know, when we see them, we just kind of feel this like wink, this knowing. It can be from our guides, it can be from our loved ones. But angels numbers just have this really beautiful feeling to them. There's a frequency to them. And if you're seeing a certain number, I'm not going to go all over all of them in this podcast, but Google it, ChatGPT it. If you're seeing 555 or 333 or certain number sequence, maybe there's a specific message that you need to hear and feel and embody at this point. But be open to understanding that numbers are a way of your loved ones communicating with you, signs and words. So this can be in messages, media, symbols. They can communicate that way. So funny story, my grandpa loved the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and I live in Utah, so Nebraska Cornhuskers is not really a big thing out here. But whenever I really feel him, I will see something red, or I'll see a Cornhuskers sign, or I'll see somebody wearing a Cornhuskers hat. And I just immediately feel this deep connection to my grandpa. And my grandpa is definitely one of my guides. I feel him a lot, and that's his symbol to me. It's a wink for my grandpa, and I'm so appreciative of that. So look for those things in your life with humor, with love, and be open to these different signs. So my sweet hubby Kelly went to a medium, and in that session, his grandpa came through and he's like, my sign for you is dimes. So it's so funny how many times Kelly just randomly finds dimes. It's crazy. And anytime any of the kids find a dime or I find a dime, I'm like, oh, Grandpa Ray is saying hi to us. And we just really feel this deep connection to him when we see those dimes. So allow yourself to have these little symbols, these little tokens from the other side. Let life be magical. Okay. Another way that spirit can communicate with us is through the sense of smell. This can be scent memories like perfume, cigar, and food, tobacco smoke, things like that. Things that are deeply resonant with the person that has passed. I know when my grandmother comes in to say hello, I smell her perfume so strong. Some mornings I feel it really strongly, others a little bit more faintly, but I know when she's come to my space, I smell her perfume so strongly, and it's such a beautiful scent, and it always makes me smile. But be open to the magic. Maybe you had a grandmother who loved cooking bread, and you smell homemade bread whenever she's close, and you're like, nobody's baking it, but I can smell it. You're not crazy. It's truly magic, and allow it to be in your life, and let it be this beautiful wink from someone who loves you, who's there for you, who's there to support you. And you can have touch and feeling and dreams come through. These are all ways that, your loved ones can communicate with you. You can have sensations like where you feel like a kind of a brush over your shoulder, or, yes, a hand, and, feeling on your hand, that connectivity. Again, this is where I want you to drop your fear and believe that these things can actually feel really beautiful and deeply connected, and not have to be fear. Like, oh my goodness, I just felt something. Like, shake it off. Like, because sometimes we're just startled. We weren't expecting it, but it's truly just a beautiful spirit coming through to talk with us. Vivid dreams are really beautiful. And so for me and my connection with my dad that passed last year, that's how he communicates with me 100%. Like, I kept thinking it was going to be this cute little symbol, or like I told him, I want $100 bills. That did not happen. I did not just find random $100 bills like I was hoping. But for him, he shows up in my dreams all the time. And it's really interesting on the dreams that I have with him in it, where he's in the dream. Those are my most vivid dreams. Like, literally in the dream, I'm like, oh my gosh, dad's alive. Do you guys see him too? Like, and I will have people in my dream who I'm with, like, these are friends, these are, this is Kelly's with me. And I'm literally being like, do you see him too? And they're like, yeah, we see him too. And, I went to a dream interpreter, and, ChatGPT, let's be honest. And they said, if you have other people who are confirming what you see, that's actually spirit telling you this is real. It's your subconscious telling you that this appearance of this loved one in your dream is actually a real and beautiful connection with that loved one. But I see my dad in my dreams all the time. And he's always there smiling at me. Sometimes I'll hear words and messages he's trying to give me. Sometimes they're a little like, I don't know what you're trying to share to me. And then I'll have to like do dream interpretation and figure out what the message was. He's always this calm. I just see him so clearly. It's magnetic and magical to me how much I see him, how much I feel him, and such a beautiful presence in my dream. So allow yourself to believe that when a loved one is in your dream, and especially where it feels really vivid, or maybe not so vivid, pay attention to these things. Keep a journal for your dreams, especially if they feel different. And if you like see that loved one and then there's other things that don't make as much sense, write those things down when you wake up so that you can understand what that person was trying to tell you. Because a lot of times in our dreams, we see things as symbols. And if we're trying to understand them on a literal human mind way, they're not going to make any sense at all. But if you're able to, go to a dream interpreter or ChatGPT, I'm not going to lie, comes in clutch a lot of times. And sometimes I'll have to do a couple, like go a little bit deeper, maybe a different angle, until I finally feel like something resonates. Is kind of the trick there. But yeah, dreams have been really cool of a connection with my dad. That's his jam. That's how he likes to communicate with me. Okay, now I'm really excited to share some of the stories that I collected from you, my listeners, and kind of how spirit speaks to you. And you will notice that there is a theme. Like, a lot of the 9 things I shared are in their stories. And you'll see how these things kind of play out in real life. So this first one is from Marissa, and she is the cutest. When I had my car accident, she was my massage therapist and like literally saved my life. Okay, so this is her experience. I'm just going to read what she wrote. So, my fiance Ty passed almost 10 years ago. He passed away on December 19th, 2015. It's crazy it's been that long and yet still can feel so fresh. We had a very sweet connection before he passed. We could think about each other and know the other was either about to text or already texted. He was also really good at putting to words how I felt by touching me when we would have deep conversations, and I struggled with my words. Very special. So after he passed, it was so weird for me for a while. The type of energy that I would put out to find him felt like I couldn't reach him. Like he truly was not in this dimension, in all the universe. It was strange and sudden disconnect that I didn't think would leave, since it seemed to be something so special that we had developed, like a muscle. So it left me searching for signs and trying over and over and putting out feelers for him and nothing coming back. So much so that I started to voice it out loud to my loved ones. I started to say I would really like to know he's okay and doing well, which I knew he was, but I wanted him to tell me. I had a blessing from my dad and bishop and nothing still. Then, about a week or two after he passed, I asked his best friend to give me a blessing, and that's when it happened. He channeled him through, and I don't remember much of the blessing other than that he said he wanted me to be whole. That has really stuck with me throughout the years. The more I learn about wholeness, the more I see how loving that statement truly is. Since that day, I have learned that they constantly speak to us. We just have to notice. So I notice in the car when a certain song comes on that we used to sing, or there's a certain lyric in the song that is something he would say. I see him in nature and butterflies and beetles and spiders because he loved bug hunting. I can also hear him in my thoughts. I know because it's funny inside jokes he would normally say or ideas he would share, questions he would ask me to help me move through my emotions. When I miss him, I talk to him, and most times I feel his presence. So, what's interesting is that it became a new muscle to develop. When he spoke to me through the blessing, I understood that was the new energy muscle that would need to be developed to speak with him. That doesn't mean that it's always easy for me to communicate with him. I've noticed that sometimes my own guilt, shame, and fear sometimes gets in the way of me being able to hear him. Also, I'm married now to a wonderful man and we have a daughter, and there's a mutual respect in that. He'll bring me messages in my dreams, and honestly, they're not always easy. However, I know out of love, he's bringing things to my attention that help me to be better for my family and for my own becoming. He's definitely one of my guides, and I'm so happy to have a teammate on the other side. So I'd like to view death in that way, gaining more teammates to help us through this crazy, beautiful life. What a beautiful story. Oh my goodness. I'm so grateful you shared that. Okay, here's another story from Carla. So I went to visit my grandma in August of 2023. She was in an assisted nursing home, and she was in a medically induced coma. While I was in her bedroom with her, I could see and feel the presence of my ancestors on the other side, ready to take her home, away from all the pain and heartache of this world. That was that was on the 7th of August 2023. She passed away on the 10th of August 2023. I was able to do her temple work 3 months later and felt the reassurance that she was accepting me to her doing her temple work. I did her temple work 2 days before my birthday in November of 2023 because I felt the prompting to do her temple work as a birthday present to myself and to help her in the eternities. What a beautiful story. Regardless of where you are religious wise, we have these beautiful experiences that connect us with our loved ones. Here's another one from Andy T. It's so funny. I love that we have the same initials. I promise it's not me. It's another Andy T in this world. This is what she writes. She says, my car apparently was moments away from having a catastrophic damage that would have been unfixable. I was on the beach boardwalk for sunrise, and this tiny toy car was on the walkway. I felt my dad, so I picked it up and brought it home. That night, I had it on my nightstand, and this toy car literally fell off my nightstand in front of my face. My dad was always very concerned about my car's safety. I simply said, I hear you, Dad. Stopped at the mechanic the next morning, and wow, my dad saved my car. We are so supported. We are so loved that we don't even know it. These are such beautiful stories of how our loved ones are there waiting to play a part in our lives if we open our hearts, if we open our minds to receiving these actions, receiving these stories. I'm so grateful for the stories that have been shared. I hope hearing these stories from my experience, from my loved ones' experience, from our beautiful community members have really helped open your heart and open your minds to realize that it might be as simple as a car on on a boardwalk and having that deep connection, a song on a radio. These can be beautiful ways that our loved ones are really trying to connect with us. I encourage you to stay open, stay grounded. you know, there are so many ways that we can connect and open the conversation. That can be through meditation, through journaling, through prayer, mindfulness in nature. It's simply opening your heart to receive the connectivity and allowing yourself to be aware. Awareness is key here. Our loved ones don't want to scare us. They want to remind us that we are loved and supported. And if you open your heart, you'll feel nothing but love. I hope today's episode gave you comfort, maybe even some validation that these little signs that you were noticing aren't just simple coincidence. They're love notes from the other side. If this resonated, share it with someone who could use a reminder that they're not alone. And if you have a story to share, send it to me. I might feature it on a future episode. If this becomes a thing where people really love this connectivity, this community, I would love to share more stories to help you understand because losing my dad, oh, last December, it's almost been a year, was one of the hardest things I've been through. But knowing that he's still here and that I can still feel him, I can still see him in my dreams, and I still have that connection to him. He's still here, very much my cheerleader, like he has always been, has been brought me so much peace. And I hope that you being able to connect to the loved ones that have passed brings you as much peace as it has for me. Much love, and I will see you next week.